Hey, what's going on everyone? Vasco here and welcome back to the channel. And today we are here with another live stream. Today to talk about some breaking news that no one seemed to be expecting, but I think I was one of the few people that actually saw this move coming. I was talking to a few people other day, and that's the breaking news, of course, that Fernando Alonso that Fernando Alonso will actually replace Sebastian Vettel at Aston Martin for the 2023 season, and also the news that he will be partnering Lance Stroll. So of course that last part not really news, but the fact that Alonso will be joining the Aston Martin team is some pretty big news, and this will mean that Alonso's journey through the Formula 1 grid will continue with a multi-year deal. So Fernando Alonso signed for 2023 and 2024 at the very least, and we will probably continue to 2025 if the prospects for Aston Martin continue to grow. Now, this is a very weird move from a career standpoint from Alonso because Alpine is clearly beating Aston Martin and they are a clearly better team. And even though I was expecting this, a lot of people were talking about Mick Schumacher. Hey, thank you for being the first here. And a lot of people were talking about the possibility of it being Mick Schumacher, but I never thought that Mick Schumacher could actually replace Sebastian Vettel, even though they are very good friends. I didn't actually see a reason for it to be Mick because, in my opinion, I always thought that Aston Martin wouldn't really want a junior driver, because imagine how it would look for them if a junior driver such as Mick would go into the team and then actually beat someone as experienced as Lance Stroll now in his 7th season in Formula 1 next year. So just imagine how that would look. So that's why in my opinion, it would never be Mick to replace Sebastian. It would always be someone with more experience. So at least someone in the same caliber as Kevin Magnussen or Daniel Ricciardo with a little bit more experience. But Aston Martin, given the name of the brand, given the value of Aston Martin, I think that they always try to have a world champion to partner Lance Stroll, because they really want a driver that is there to develop the team, push the team forward, and a driver that Lance can learn a lot from. And I think that Fernando fit the bill perfectly. And Mick Schumacher, as I said, isn't really that kind of driver for me. He's a driver that is still finding his feet in Formula 1, but a driver that even in finding his feet could probably beat Lance more often than not. So just the kind of driver I think that Aston Martin doesn't want to. So when it comes to Fernando, I think that this is a very weird move because Alpine is clearly on the up. And honestly, one of my predictions is for Alpine to actually be on the lookout and on a fight for podiums next year. Podiums and potentially a race win next year, because their car is a very interesting car from a technical standpoint. If you want to, please let me know in the comments of this video and I'll make an entire video dedicated to the Alpine car, such as the one that I'm planning for the Mercedes car, because I think that if you take a look at the 2022 concepts, you have that kind of raised side pod concept that the Ferrari had. Then you have the downwash approach that Red Bull and a lot of teams are copying. But then you have that kind of middle direction that was pioneered by Alpine and that now McLaren has copied, that seems to be working very, very well. And I think that ever since Alpine introduced that design and McLaren, they were always in the point. So definitely a very interesting decision from a technical standpoint from Alpine to use that kind of car direction, and I think it's working. So I think that with one more winter of development for 2024 and 2023, I think that they will be on the fight for race wins next year, and that brings a very exciting prospect. And this is why I think that this is one of those moves where Alonso just was 1 year too soon by moving, because I think that was he to stay in Alpine, he was going to get that last race win next year, even if he only got a 1 year deal, which is probably the reason that Alonso didn't stay with the team. I think that this was a real mistake in his career, because he just missed the opportunity to go out on a high, and then he could move to Alpine's sports car problems for Le Mans in the hypercars. So a really weird decision from Alonso, but I think that the real contention point that made him move from Alpine to Aston Martin was really the contract duration. I think that Alonso wanted to be in Formula 1 for more than a season, and that Alpine, as they wanted to put Oscar Piastri in that car for 2024, didn't really want to sign Alonso for more than a season, but I'm actually getting ahead of myself because I'm going to take a look at the entire driver lineup and actually make some predictions here live on the channel. So for Alonso, I think that this is a backward step, and even though I think that Aston Martin is investing a lot of money into Formula 1, I think that they are not investing in the right direction. I think that they really need to stop being so micromanaged by the CEO and the chairman and really start focusing on how to win as a team. And I think that the loss of Otmar Safnauer is really one of the main things that kind of derailed Aston Martin over the course of the 2021 and 2022 seasons. But even still, I think that it's a logical move for Alonso, because if he wants to be in Formula 1, well, the other slots that are available, and I can switch to the other scene right now. Let me just do something. Oh, okay, you should be able to see it now. Whoops, I'm not centered. Okay, that's better. Okay, so by taking a look at the driver market available for the 2023 season, you see that the top teams in Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes are locked out. And even if I think that a seat in McLaren is definitely a possibility, I just think that Alonso burned too many bridges for McLaren, and I think that under the Zak Brown leadership, they are not going to make that decision again, because it really cost them a chance of having a Honda power unit right now. And I think that they, once again for Alonso, he just left and made Honda leave just about as they were getting good. So if you don't know, following Alonso's career, he left Renault with 2 world championships at a very good time. Then he went to McLaren, and he had he had the chance of winning a world championship there, but didn't. And then he left for Renault again, and then for Ferrari. But right as Ferrari was getting competitive again, he left Ferrari. Then he went to McLaren, and right as McLaren was getting competitive, he left for Renault, which is now Alpine. And then now, just as Alpine is starting to look good, he seems to be leaving for Aston Martin. So probably a very good sign that Lance Stroll will be world champion once Fernando Alonso leaves that team. But once again, I think that it's a very weird move for him. Now, of course, that the 4 teams right here on the top of the graph, on the top of the screen, are really full and don't have a place for Alonso. Even if I think that Daniel won't be here next year, this is the only driver slot which I don't have a prediction for who will be here next year. Okay, but now let's take a look at how this changes the grid. So, of course, Aston Martin with Alonso and with Lance Stroll, not really a big surprise here. Then Williams with 2 drivers to confirm, Haas with only Magnussen confirmed, Alpine with Ocon, Alfa Romeo with Bottas, and AlphaTauri with only Pierre Gasly. But I think that by this point of the season, I think we can have a very good look at how this grid is going to pan out. So let's start from the top, and with the team that it's most obvious, let's talk about Alpine. So the seat that Fernando Alonso left vacant was a seat that Alpine was trying to use to give him a 1-year contract in order to put Oscar Piastri there in 2024. And just as a side note, I see that there are people watching this stream, so be sure to like this stream, and any comments that you have, please leave them in the live chat. I'm watching the live chat right as we speak, so if you got anything to say, or if you disagree with me or you agree with me, please say it in the live chat. It always helps these live streams to be a lot more fun, so please let me know your thoughts in the live chat. So when it comes to Alpine, as I said, they were saving that seat for Piastri, and that's why I think that they didn't want to give the 2-year deal to Alonso, because I think that their plan was to put Piastri in the Williams for 1 year and then make him jump to Alpine for the 2nd year. But as Alonso decided to jump ship, as he didn't want to do this, I think that the opportunity is now there for Piastri to jump directly to Alpine. And honestly, Oscar Piastri's career, and I'm a big fan of him, has been something that's been kind of hurting me over the last couple of months, because he's such a good driver, such a waste of talent not being in Formula 1 already. He really deserved the seat for the 2022 season, and he didn't got it. So I think that it would be a very bad service to Oscar if they put him in a team like Williams, which is going to be at the bottom of the grid. I think he really deserved an opportunity to learn in the high pressure environment, that it's a team that's fighting for the top. And I know that a lot of people say that drivers need to learn in the teams that are at the bottom, but just look at drivers such as Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, pretty much Verstappen, Leclerc, and Hamilton, which are drivers that immediately were put under the pressure of going into a top team, just look at how they panned out. There are three truly special drivers, and the pressure of being in a top team, and even Lando for that matter, in his first year, he was right on the pace with Sainz, and McLaren wasn't a top team, but they were fighting kind of for the top three, top four. I think that you really see that drivers that are good can be put in those environments and really thrive. So why not Piastri for Alpine? You will have an experienced teammate in Esteban Ocon, which even if he's not the fastest driver ever, it's a very good benchmark for Piastri, because if Piastri is able to be on about the same level as Ocon, I think that he will have a very good showing, and I think that this is the right place to put Piastri, and I think that it's just a matter of time. I wouldn't be amazed if during this live stream they announce Piastri, but I just think that they need to put pen to paper to officialize Piastri, which is going to put some other teams in a very tricky situation. So as I've said before, and jumping to Williams, Piastri was expected to partner Alex Albon next year at Williams, because I just think that even without Piastri, Nicolas Latifi is not going to be in the grid next year. He didn't justify a spot on the grid next year, and in my opinion, Albon is definitely going to stay there. There's really no place for him to go. He wouldn't want to go to AlphaTauri, and even if he did, I think that this seat is Yuki Tsunoda's to take, so Yuki is doing a very good job, and I think that he's being kind of let down for that AlphaTauri car, but I think that it's going to be Gasly and it's going to be Tsunoda at AlphaTauri, no doubt in my mind whatsoever. So that's AlphaTauri locked in for me. But when it comes to Williams, one of the seats is definitely going to be Alex Albon. He's going to be the number one driver. He's been making a few mistakes this season, but overall a very solid season for him. Not on the same level as George Russell in the last couple of years at Williams, but a very good job nonetheless for him. But I think that partnering Alex Albon is a driver that a lot of people thought his career in Formula 1 was over, and that is Nick De Vries. So the Formula 2 champion from 2019, if I'm not mistaken, Nick De Vries, is now in Formula E. He's a champion. He's on a very good way to be champion again with the Mercedes in Formula E again. And he's a driver that, even though he never had like a shining career, such as your Piastris, your Leclercs, your George Russells, your Max Verstappens, I think that he's a very good driver for that Williams seat, and I think he deserves it. And just a few weeks ago, we saw in the news that Mercedes were considering to drop Nick De Vries entirely from their junior program if they weren't able to find a seat for him in Formula 1 next year, and we haven't heard any news of him being dropped. So I think that with this news that Sebastian Vettel will retire, that Alonso will be in Aston Martin, that Piastri will definitely be in that Alpine, I think that if they don't put Piastri in that Alpine, they are making the biggest mistake that could have consequences for the rest of the decade, because they will lose Piastri if they don't put him in this seat. Because put yourself in the head of Oscar Piastri. You have been left 1 year out of Formula 1 because they didn't want to replace Alonso. And now Alonso does use the favor of just leaving. So why not put Piastri there? But I think that De Vries is the obvious choice. He has got a lot of experience in single-seater. He has been doing very well in Formula E, which, even though is a very different series, is a very competitive series. And when it comes to Formula 1 experience, Nick De Vries has been doing some free practice ones. He drove for Williams, he drove for Mercedes. So I think that it's the pretty obvious choice, and I think that it will make Toto Wolff very, very happy to have Nick De Vries in there. So for me, Williams will be Albon and De Vries, and that's my prediction locked. Now, when it comes to the last two seats on the grid, so who will partner Valtteri Bottas, who will partner Kevin Magnussen? And the obvious answer would be to say that Joe will partner Bottas at Alfa Romeo and that Mick Schumacher will partner Kevin Magnussen at Haas. But I actually have the opposite opinion. I think that there will be a swap between Haas and between Alfa Romeo. So in my opinion, Bottas will partner Mick Schumacher for 2023 and Kevin Magnussen will partner Guan Yu Zhou. And just give me a second, I will explain everything. Okay, sorry. So in my opinion, Valtteri Bottas, very, very good driver, very experienced driver, and Alfa Romeo is in a very good spot with these regulations. I think that they just need to nail that car setup in order to be out there fighting with Alpine and McLaren, really. So in my opinion, Valtteri Bottas would be the perfect mentor for Mick Schumacher, because I think that Mick in that has really actually, let me explain this the other way. Let me explain why I think that Guan Yu Zhou is going to Haas first. Then I'm going to talk about the Alfa Romeo deal. So when it comes to Haas, I think that after the Mazepins left Haas and Kevin Magnussen was signed with alongside Mick Schumacher, Haas has been in a very good position from a competitive standpoint, but from a financial standpoint, I think that they definitely need more money. Definitely need more money. Now, when it comes to Guan Yu Zhou, you have a driver that brings a lot of backing with him and a lot of marketing value, because Haas would not only be the first American team in Formula One in a long, long time, but they now would have all of the marketing value of having a Chinese driver on that team. So I think it would be an amazing driver lineup. But now you would have Kevin Magnussen partnering Guan Yu Zhou, which is a driver that's performing way above expectations. So before this season, I had the opinion that Guan Yu Zhou was just going to be another Lance Stroll, Nicolas Latifi kind of type. But no, Zhou is really impressing. And even though his points haul really doesn't reflect what he's doing, but that's a lot because of really the Ferrari power unit reliability issues. He's been losing a lot of points to that. So I think that Zhou is doing a very good job, and he would do a solid job in the Haas. It would also bring a lot of money, and that way Haas would have a very competitive lineup, and it would kind of solve its financial issues. And now I've seen that a lot of people are here on the comments. So what's up, guys? What's up, Tommy? What's up, John? I will answer your comments in just a second. Let me just explain why I think that Mick Schumacher is going to partner Valtteri Bottas, because Mick Schumacher, I think, really woke up in the second half of the 2022 season, and I really think that he will be a very good match for the Alfa Romeo team. He's a Ferrari driver through and through, but there's no spot at the main team, and I don't think he's ready yet. But over the second half of the 2022 season, and especially after he scored those first points in Formula One, he has been on another level. He really woke up, and I think that he could learn a lot from Valtteri, and this way he would still be in a Ferrari powered car. He knows the engine through and through. He now has a lot of experience in Formula One, and that's just what Alfa Romeo needs. A driver that's maybe a slight upgrade from Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, sorry. He's a driver that has a lot of experience, again, a lot of marketing value because of that Schumacher name, and this would be an amazing way for Ferrari to keep him under its stable until it's time for a move to either drop him or move him to the main team. So that's how I think that the driver lineups are going to be in 2023. So filling this vacant seat in Alfa Romeo, it will be Mick Schumacher. Here in Alpine, it will be Oscar Piastri, thank God. And here in Haas, it will be Guan Yu Zhou. Then Nick De Vries partnering Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda partnering Pierre Gasly. Okay, so now to answer a few of your questions. Tommy, I see you. Schumacher to Alfa Romeo, definitely, I agree with you. And John David, Mick is a Ferrari foster boy. Haas really works closely with Haas compared to Sauber. Okay, I see what you mean. So the Haas is definitely it looks a lot like the Ferrari. So Haas, you see, even in their most recent upgrade, it's a car that's very similar to the Ferrari, and they work very closely with him. And maybe with the kind of rumors that Alfa Romeo is maybe leaning towards going with Audi, so Sauber becoming the Audi factory team instead of the Alfa Romeo. I see what you mean by there, but I think that those deals are really being put in place for 2026. So I think that there's still a lot of time for a close relationship between Alfa Romeo and Ferrari, and between Haas and Ferrari. So I think that this switch is definitely something that can either happen or not, because Guan Yu Zhou again is doing a very solid job at Alfa Romeo, and he now knows the team. So maybe no reason for Alfa Romeo to want to replace him, but I just think that Haas is going to make a very, very good case. And if you remember, in the beginning of the season, Alfa Romeo really only wanted to sign a one-year deal with Zhou, so he's on the driver market, and Haas is really having a good season so far, so they may be able to propose a switch between the two drivers. Okay, Liam Lawson to Alpha Tauri. Well, the only way that I think that's possible is if Daniel Ricciardo is not on the grid anymore, because I think that the only option for Liam Lawson to be in AlphaTauri is if Pierre Gasly leaves AlphaTauri, because Yuki Tsunoda, I think, is doing a good enough job to warrant a season in AlphaTauri, and Liam Lawson, I think, is doing a good job in Formula 2, but not a good enough job in Formula 2. And I'm not entirely sure that he has the super license points. So you guys can let me know in the comments if he has the super license points, but I think that it doesn't. And the only way that I would see that happening was that if McLaren announced that Daniel Ricciardo would retire, then Gasly could replace him, and then Liam Lawson could be there. So yeah, I also think that Tsunoda will stay. I think he's doing a very good job, and in my opinion, that's I would be really amazed. And I've published on my Twitter account my final thoughts on this. So let me just open it up right here for you. So I've said this a few hours ago already. Let me just switch my screens here for a second. Okay, just a second, guys. Okay. Oops. This is not what I meant to do. This is what I meant to do. Okay. Should be good now. Okay, so as I said a few hours ago on my Twitter feed, I think that Piastri will go to Alpine, De Vries to Williams, Mick Schumacher. Well, I actually guess I changed my mind here. I changed my mind because I now think that Mick Schumacher will be driving for Alfa Romeo, and that Guan Yu Zhou or Zhou Guan Yu will be driving for Haas. But I think that Yuki Tsunoda will stay in AlphaTauri. And if you guys, by the way, don't follow me on Twitter, you guys can follow me here on the channel account. I really publish a lot of telemetry data such as this from Hungary, so definitely a very interesting way to have a conversation. Okay, so Tommy says Ricciardo to Formula E, Mercedes team, let Williams take Nick De Vries. I think that's what you meant. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that if Ricciardo leaves Formula 1, and if he leaves the McLaren team in Formula 1, he will definitely go to the Mercedes Formula E team, which next year is going to turn into the McLaren Formula E team. But because I just don't think that that relationship between Daniel and McLaren is working out. I just think that he's not performing up to the standard that McLaren needs him to, because they're paying him, I think it's something like 30 million or 21 million. That's the deal, 21 million for Ricciardo. And if you guys don't know how those deals work, it usually is on a going up scale. So he probably, for a 21 million pound or euro deal, he wins 6 million in the first year, 7 million in the second year, and 8 million in a third year. So they would be paying a lot of money for Daniel Ricciardo, and I just think that it's not worth it for them. I think that they would be much better off if they were to sorry, got distracted here. They would be much better off if Daniel Ricciardo was not there, and if they put someone like Gasly there. But I also heard the rumors that Gasly's driving style wouldn't be good with the McLaren, so I don't really know who they could put there. I think that McLaren's first choice would also be Oscar Piastri, but I think that after Alonso did what he did, there is no way that Alpine is going to not have Oscar Piastri, because they would immediately lose him to another team, probably powered by another engine, because there are no other teams powered by the Renault engine. So those are pretty much my thoughts. And something that's also very interesting I've seen here from John Warren on Twitter is the kind of downgrade that Alpine made that Alonso made from Alpine to Aston Martin. He really needs to believe in what Aston Martin is doing next year in order to justify this jump, because right now Alpine are doing very well in the standings, and as I've talked about their car, so I think that this was a definite downgrade for Alonso in the short term. So let's hope that switch to Aston Martin works out in the long term. Okay, so just a few final remarks from you guys. Red Bull already admitted that they might copy Aston Martin's rear wing. Can this close the gap on Ferrari's qualifying pace? Well, I think that if that rear wing from Aston Martin is a very, very good innovation, and I've got a video on it on the channel right now, and it's up, and I explain why I think that it's a very, very good idea. And with the FIA saying that they are not going to close down that loophole, expect every team to bring it. So Red Bull is going to copy it, and they stated that publicly, but Ferrari is also going to copy it, and expect the top three teams, so Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes, to at least have a working prototype for FP1 in Spa and in Monza at the very least, or the Netherlands, because the Netherlands is a very, very high downforce track that really benefits from those kind of stuff. So I think that it's definitely something that Red Bull will have, but I don't think that it will close the gap, because every team should copy it from now on if it works. I'm kind of worried for that kind of rear wing at tracks like Monza because of that really big cylinder area, that circular cross section for the hair to hit in tracks like Monza, but I think that the advantage of having end plates kind of outweighs it. So expect most teams to have it. I don't think that it's a silver bullet. You saw that for the Aston Martin, it was a good upgrade, but not like an upgrade that made them jump a lot of positions in the grid, but definitely an upgrade that showed that they are still thinking outside the box, so something that I really love to see. But expect to see every single team to bring it somewhere around Spa. Okay, so thoughts on Mercedes returning to the top again. Do you think Ferrari should be worried on Sainz and Leclerc problems on track and off track, issues with Verstappen drifting away? And okay, I definitely think that Ferrari, and I've told this in a video, not a lot of people saw it, but I've made a video last week talking about Leclerc's crash in France, and there I said that Ferrari really needs to be more worried about what's going to happen on the back than on the front, because now Mercedes are only 30 points away from them, and they are more than 80 points away from Red Bull Ferrari. So I think that Ferrari really needs to start looking back, because even though I think that the Ferrari car is still the fastest car on the track, their reliability issues plus their driver mistakes, and now adding the third variable of the enormous mistakes that the strategy team is making, and I was planning on doing an entirely different live stream only on this. The mistakes from the strategy team, they're costing them a lot of points, and you see that Russell is already ahead of Sainz in the standings, and by the way that things are going, I fully expect Mercedes to be P2 in the Constructors' Championship, and for both Mercedes drivers to outweigh both Ferrari drivers in the championship standings come the end of the year. And yes, I even mean Leclerc. I mean that both Mercedes drivers can be in front of Leclerc come the end of the season, because if you take a look at the current results from Mercedes, they have been doing double podiums, or at least podiums, for the last couple of races, whereas Ferrari and Leclerc especially has been on the podium only once in the last 8 races, make that 9 with when counting this one. So that's why I think, okay, what do you think of Aston Martin car next year with Alonso as driver and Dan Follows around? Dan Follows, head of aerodynamics from Red Bull, going into Aston Martin. I think that it's a very interesting pairing. I just think that Aston Martin still needs at least 2 or 3 years before that factory comes online, before Dan Follows can really have his full influence on the car, and before everything comes into shape for them. But I think that in 2 or 3 years time they can be in a much, much better position. But I think that honestly they need to replace Lance Stroll, because if they had 2 good drivers, imagine a lineup of Alonso and Vettel. That would be a very good lineup for them to grow and for them to build a very solid foundation. Okay, so yeah, I would have loved an Alonso and Vettel duo. I would also love it to see that. They really need to reconsider Stroll. And do you think Albon was trying too hard to keep his seat in Alpine? I personally think it might be gone. I think that Alpine really like Esteban Ocon, French driver, French team. He's doing some kind of questionable defense against his teammate. He has done so in Jeddah. He has done so in Hungary right now. So definitely a very weird kind of style from Ocon, and I think he really needs to calm down a little bit, especially if he has a rookie teammate next year. He really needs to focus on teaching him the ropes instead of fighting him. But again, Ocon is a very good driver and someone that I really respect a lot. but there's more money in Aston Martin. There's definitely more money in Aston Martin. I just don't think that Alonso was driven by the money. I think that Alonso was driven by the fact that he got a 2-year deal instead of a 1-year deal at Alpine. But you can put stuff into perspective. Aston Martin has a lot of money because of Lawrence Stroll, but Alpine is effectively Renault and it's a factory team. Alpine has much, much more money than Lawrence Stroll, maybe orders of magnitude more money than Lawrence Stroll. So I think that financially they are both hitting the cost cap. So there's not really a big difference there, and the Renault group can offer a salary as big or bigger than Lawrence Stroll can to Fernando Alonso. So I think that money was not the contention. The contention was that Alpine really only wanted to give a 1-year deal to Fernando Alonso, whereas Aston Martin gave him the 2-year deal that he really wanted to see. And we need Mick Schumacher, Ferrari versus Verstappen in a Red Bull. Do you think that's going to happen really? Because in my opinion, I really think that Mick Schumacher is like a tier 3 kind of driver. So if you make it so that drivers such as Hamilton, Senna, etc. are like a tier 1 type of driver, drivers such as, I'm going to be a little controversial, Vettel and Alonso tier 2 maybe, you can put the Leclercs there, and Schumacher maybe a tier 3 driver, maybe more a little bit. I just don't know. I just don't think that he will be on the same level as Verstappen ever. I think that Max has a very special talent, and that drivers such as Leclerc can match him. Even Carlos Sainz on a good day, Lewis Hamilton, everything. Prost tier 2, okay. If we get into a conversation about tiers, we are going to have a very, very long live stream, because we are going to have differing opinions, and that's very, very good. And of course, that my fandom is going to affect my opinions. And yours is going to. But we can have that conversation in a later live stream. This live stream is getting kind of long, so definitely, I don't think that Ferrari is going. I don't think that Mick Schumacher is going to Ferrari in the long term. I think that they have got better options. I think that they are going to have a problem if Charles Leclerc decides to leave, and I think that Leclerc should leave for Mercedes. But that's a conversation for another day, and I hope to have you guys for that live stream as well. But Raikkonen tier 3, okay, I'm not going to get into this tier conversation, even though it's a lot of fun. You guys can follow me on Twitter, and actually tweet me in my account at Vasco Motorsport, and tweet me your tiers of drivers, and it can be any drivers. Just let me know the tier, and I'll try to my best to answer it on Twitter. But I think that Leclerc, he might move out of Ferrari once his contract is up in 2024, and then I don't know who they will put. Maybe then Mick Schumacher could do it, but even then they may have better options. They could try and poach Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, some driver in that kind of reign. So because you saw that they were very willing to take Carlos Sainz off McLaren, so definitely they would not be out of the picture for them to poach another driver. Okay, so I will be waiting for your tier list on Twitter. It would be very fun if a lot of you guys actually post me your tier lists, and then I promise, if enough of you guys do it, I will have a live stream just dedicated to having tier lists of drivers. But I think Alonso is a very, very good driver, and I really hope that this Aston Martin contract works, because Alonso is now 41 years old. He'll be 42 years old next year, 43 years old come the last year of his Aston Martin contract, making 44 because his birthday was just up in July. So he will be pushing 44 years old once his contract is up. So I really think that we are seeing the last of Alonso, at least the last of Alonso in a competitive state, because even though Alonso is performing at a very high level, he's not performing as well as when he was in his early 20s. This is normal. Athletes have a drop-off, especially in a sport as physically demanding as Formula 1. But I'm very excited to see what Alonso brings to the table in what can be his last stint in Formula 1. And honestly, with Vettel gone, it's very good to have the last remaining driver from once I started watching Formula One. So I started watching once Michael Schumacher was winning all of his titles with Ferrari. Alonso was there. He's the last driver that's there from my original Formula One fandom. So he's there to stop making me feel old, because once he retires, all of the grid will be new from once I started watching. So he's there to make me not feel old. So I really hope that Alonso sticks for 1 or 2 more years, and I'm very excited to see what he brings to the table. But I think that in order for Aston Martin to become competitive, they need to get their priorities in order, give more independence to Otmar Safnauer and his technical team, and get another second driver, because the whole thing with Lance Stroll is not working anymore. But overall, very interesting news, and I'm also very sad to see Sebastian Vettel go, but I think it's for the best, and I hope he sticks around the paddock at least for a couple of more years, and I hope to see him do another race like the 24 Hours of Le Mans, because even though Sebastian Vettel may be done with racing, I'm not done with Sebastian Vettel. He's a great person, maybe the best person in the entire grid, and I really cannot get enough of them. But yeah, that's been it for this live stream. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, Tommy. Looking forward to hearing from you on Twitter, and looking forward to seeing all of you guys throughout the summer break, because even though Formula One is stopped, we are definitely not done with Formula One for the summer break. We need content, and we, especially with the races gone, we need content here on YouTube for us to keep talking about Formula One. And once we reach and to keep us awake until we reach Spa, one of the most amazing races of the year. So until then, stay tuned for the channel. I will have a lot of content waiting for you guys. The next video I'm working on is kind of an evolution on how Mercedes went from a Q1 car to a pole position car in less than half a season. So I'm working on that as we speak, and I'll see you later this week or early next week with that video. But until then, that's been it for this live stream. Thank you very much for the engagement. It's been amazing, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.